Hello, everyone. Hope that you are doing well. It is a rainy day here in North Carolina. It has been the busiest month of my life, and I'm recovering from COVID, so I am a little loopy. It's going to be a fun episode. I really hope that you brought your popcorn, maybe a drink or two, because I don't know how long I'm going to go, but I am here for it. Very excited to share everything that's been going on in my life with everybody. Hope that you're doing well. It's been a month plus since I've been able to do a show. Just been so busy. You know, it's nothing. It's not you. It's me. Skates came in, and before that, we were preparing for Winter Clash, which was an amazing show. If I was able to meet you out at Winter Clash, thank you so much for coming up. I met hundreds of people. We had a booth for Standard and brought the whole team out there, and was able to show everybody the skates that we've been working on, and get people's feet in the skates to figure out what size they wanted. They brought their liners over to test them out. It was exactly what I had hoped the trade show would be like. I hope to meet with my friend Ben next weekend. I think we're going to record a podcast. If you aren't listening to the Back to Blading podcast, we don't do it very often anymore. My schedule is rough, and honestly, Ben's schedule is rough as well. But we do plan on doing a show next weekend. So go to backtoblading.com/podcast if you're interested. And I will talk all about my Winter Clash trip, everything that happened. Sadly, on the way back, the morning of, I started getting a runny nose and a sore throat. I do mask when I am on the airplane, but I did not mask at the trade show. It was actually a pretty open area at the trade show, so I didn't think that we were very high risk. But and I didn't go out. I didn't go to the club afterwards. I didn't go to the bar afterwards. After the trade show, I ran away, and I went back to the hotel, or I went out to dinner with the team. And unfortunately, I got COVID. First time. I've never gotten COVID. Fully vaccinated, so I was fine, but I'm still testing positive. It's been 10 days now, so hopefully I will be testing negative soon. I'm still in the guest room at my house because my wife and youngest child have some immune issues, so we try to avoid getting them sick, and it is the reason why I've been so... If you have watched the show in the past, especially peak COVID seasons, the reason why I'm very concerned about getting COVID. So for me, when I got home, first thing that I did was take a test. And honestly, I had no idea that I had COVID. The symptoms that I have are a runny nose and a sore throat. And that's it. No cough, no respiratory issues, no fevers, no problems sleeping, nothing that would say you have COVID. It just feels like a rainy day's spring cold. But 10 days later, I'm still testing positive, which means that I could spread it to somebody. So I have been isolated at the warehouse. Thankfully, we've been shipping all of the Omni skates out. I am masking in the warehouse area. I am unmasked in my office. So this is my little quarantine area. But my friend Dylan has been helping us out, packing up all the orders. And then I am shipping everything and doing all of the customer service and stuff. So thankfully, my symptoms have been okay, so I've been able to work, but man, it's been a long week. I'm ready for the weekend. It is Wednesday. Most of all, I'm ready for Gear Talk. Love talking with everybody. Should be a great show. Got a lot to cover. This is our first episode with the Omni hitting shops, so that people can actually skate them, and I have a lot that I want to cover and talk to you about. So I guess we will get started. Perfect. All right, everything looks good. A couple dropped frames already, but it looks okay. Doesn't look like it's too bad. I am on my Ethernet, so I shouldn't be too bad, but we will see. All right. Hey everyone, welcome to Gear Talk episode 127. Gear Talk is the show that I do every other week, but lately it's been probably once a month, where we talk about the geekier side of rollerblading. If you've been following the Standard Omni and all of the development that I'm doing over the last couple of years, and you are excited, even if you're not supporting, but you're excited to see new skates hitting the market, that are skater owned, skater developed, and designed for the way that we skate, you've come to the right place. Gear Talk is the show where we break down the oddities of rollerblading and we try to make every session count. So every time you go out there and skate, you can't blame your equipment. You can blame yourself. I'm out of shape. It is cold. You can blame all of those things, but you can't blame the equipment, because if you watch Gear Talk, you know which wheel durometer you need for what surface you're skating. You know what size wheel you need so that you can skate whatever terrain you're attacking that day. It is a great sport, pastime, lifestyle. I don't know what you would call rollerblading, but it can be a little complicated. And we try on Gear Talk to make it a little bit easier to understand, explain things that might be difficult to find online, and just make it fun so that every time you go out there and skate, you have a great time. As always, I want to thank our friends over at the helmetinitiative.org for helping us with a helmet giveaway. We are big proponents of helmets here at Gear Talk and everything that we do back to blading. I always wear my helmet when I skate. It is one of the little things of insurance that I like to take out every time, just to make sure that if I do fall and if I do accidentally hit my head, I won't end up in the hospital with a serious brain injury. It is important to me that I have that level of insurance. You know, I don't wear a lot of pads when I skate. Sometimes I'll wear knee pads, sometimes I'll wear shin guards, usually wear wrist guards, but I always wear a helmet. And the reason is the damage that you could do to yourself if you hit your head is very immense. And I don't want that on anyone. I've had way too many friends end up in the hospital. I want to make sure that everybody out there is protected. So if you need a helmet, we give away one helmet for every episode of Gear Talk. Go to backtoblading.com/helmet. Let me paste the link in the description, or not in the description, in the chat. backtoblading.com/helmet. Pop. There we go. Backtoblading.com/helmet is the place to go. Put in your information. We pick somebody at random to win a helmet. Now, if you're in the US, I will send you sizing information. I will get your address, and I will send you a helmet if you win. If you're outside of the US, instead of trying to ship you a helmet, it can get expensive for me to ship, it gets expensive for you to import. We will just send you cash. We'll send you PayPal or Venmo or some other way to get you money. That way you can buy a helmet at a local skate shop, support their local community. We get that money from our donations over at Patreon. Patreon.com/backtoblading is the place to go to learn more about our Patreon system, our Patreon page. This is where we put a little bit of exclusive stuff, not a ton. Let me be completely transparent. It is more a place to support this channel. If you like what we're doing and you want to support people, get people more helmets, maybe help keep the lights on here at the studio, patreon.com/backtoblading. There are lots of great Patreons that you can go to support if you're looking for exclusive content on rollerblading, or you want a skater that you want to support because you love their style. I'm definitely not that guy. I have money, I'm fine. But in order to do this helmet initiative thing, it is nice to have a little bit of support from the community so that I can always have a bit of cash and support people who need a helmet. Backtoblading.com/helmet for more information. Again, thanks to our friends over at the Helmet Initiative for our helmet giveaway. All right, so usually this is the time that I talk about my current setup. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to skate very much lately. It is so cold outside. I've got a rule that I don't skate if the temperature outside is below my age, and I'm 47 years old. So it's been a few months since I've skated. It is getting warmer now though. So I was able to skate a couple weeks ago in my neighborhood, and thankfully I brought my skates to Winter Clash and I was able to skate a little bit around town. Winter Clash is over in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. It is a beautiful community that's very supportive of lifestyle sports, whatever you want to call them, as well as biking. So if you just want to skate around the neighborhood, there are plenty of trails, fairly paved trails, that you can just get on some big wheels and go skate around. I was able, when I was over at Winter Clash, I was able to attend a session. So we at the Back to Blading Slack, we have a Slack community that if you're interested in joining, just send me a message and I'll get you an invite. But we have a community that is just full of people who spend most of their day on Slack for whatever reason, whether it's through work or they're just bored or whatever. But it is a place that we can go and talk about rollerblading. And it looks like we're working, which is kind of nice. The Back to Blading Slack, we had about a dozen or so people who hang out on that Slack in the Netherlands for Winter Clash. And we thought it was a great idea to rent out a skate park. And we spent a good 4-hour session out there with just us having a nice little session. Now, I wasn't able to spend the whole time. I only spent an hour because it was, I think, 10 to 2 on a Friday, and unfortunately the booth at Winter Clash opened at 2, so I had to get there and set up the booth. But I was able to skate for about an hour. I was skating my, oh, there's a lot of Omni back here. I was skating my standard Omni with my Chroma 58mm reels. This was probably the last sample before we started doing production. So these are probably 4 months old. You can tell there's a lot of little differences. You can see the riveted cuffs don't have the little indent. These are pre-production rivets. The color is a little different. So you can see the white paint is a little different than the color of the sole plate. We changed that. We also didn't have the actual wheels. So these were the actual frames as the Omni aggressive frames. But we didn't have the wheels, so I was skating the Chroma 58s. These are the same wheels that come on the standard Omni, but they are a Chroma wheel. They're 58mm 90A. Absolutely love these wheels. These are my favorite wheels by far. It is a nice round profile. 58mm in my eyes is the perfect all-around wheel size. It is a really great wheel. It was a little slippery at the skate park, to be honest. Skate park was mostly wood, and I was slipping a little bit. I think 88A would have been a better choice. But I didn't know that when I got there. Not knowing what you're going to skate, 90A is definitely my recommended hardness. It was a great setup. I was very rusty. I think I had skated maybe 2 hours in total for the last 3 months since probably Thanksgiving. And it was all big wheel. So it was just in my neighborhood, just skating around town. And when you don't skate aggressive fairly regularly, you start, I have muscle memory, but my muscles aren't used to jumping. So it took me a good 30 minutes just to get used to jumping again. That was a little embarrassing, but also a little bit more frustrating. When you know that you can do tricks, when you know that you can skate this area, but you just can't jump. My skating was fine, just getting around the park and doing airs and stuff. That I didn't lose that. But I definitely had some issues getting on obstacles and doing grinds. It is what it is. I wish I could have stayed a little bit longer. I think there will be an edit. I'll probably share the edit. Yeah, I think I'll share the edit. I'll put the edit on the channel so that, or maybe not the channel, but I'll share it on socials when it comes out. I did get a trick, I think, maybe, I don't know. But a lot of great skaters. Most importantly, a lot of great friends. It's the first time that I've been able to meet these people in real life, even though I've been chatting with them for probably 4 years for some of them. And it's really, that was one of the best things about the event, is seeing people that I knew online and meeting them in person. So it was a really great event. I'm glad that I was able to skate with them. Obviously, I didn't skate super well, but I hope to get back into it. And yes, I was on the Omnis. It is my skate of choice. It is the best skate in my eyes for the way that I like to skate. And I had a really great session with that. I do hope, so this next week, hope that I'm able to skate this weekend. It seems like it's going to be an okay weather situation. Maybe Saturday is rain, but I might be able to skate Sunday. This weekend session, I am going to be skating this setup that I shared already, this one. So I'm going to finally skate production Omnis. These are the fresh from the box setup. I haven't skated the production ones yet. The team has. They gave it their blessing. Again, I haven't been able to, but this is going to be my new setup. So this is a white boot, white Omni. This is size large. I put on the black sole plates, black frames with an all black wheelbase. These are the 58mm 90A Omni wheels. These are the ones that come on the Omni. They are the same as the Chroma 58s. It is the nice round profile that I love. It is 90A, which is great for street, great for park, all-around skating, probably the best hardness. It gives you the right amount of grip, the right amount of speed. I do prefer 88A when I am skating park, and I prefer 90A when I'm skating street. I'll probably be skating at Durham, so I picked an anti-rocker setup. I'm skating these stock anti-rocker wheels. Really excited to skate anti-rocker again. I've been skating flat for so long. It's going to be refreshing to go out there. It is a anti-rocker park. It's mostly ledges, very tight quarters. You don't get time for a lot of speed. So just jumping on something, grinding down, that's what anti-rocker is all about. And I absolutely love the way this came out. I saw so many great setups. You know, we've been shipping the Omni all week. I've seen so many great setups as we put them together and put them in boxes. Somebody had this, and I was like, that is the one. All white on top, all black on bottom. It just looks so good. Very slimming, I think, for the foot. I'm going to wear some black pants in case anybody was curious. I'm going to wear the cargo pants that I wear. So all black with the white boot and then the all black bottom. It's going to be really nice. Very excited for this setup. Hope to have a video. We'll see how I go. If I'm just falling all over the place, maybe I'll still make a video. But I do hope that I could get a few tricks and have fun skating. It's been way too long since I've gone out to a skate park and actually committed to making a video. What was the last time? It was probably my Raleigh video that was out skating urban. So yeah, it's been a while since I've been to a skate park, but very much looking forward to it. All right. So before we get started, tonight what I want to do is I want to get into the Omni. You know, I will be covering the Omni pretty heavily over the last few episodes, and I probably will for a little while. If you are tuned into Gear Talk for questions about everything under the sun, I would love to answer your questions. I am still here to answer questions, but my topics, the things that are most important to me, the things that are top of mind to me right now, are obviously the new standard Omni. It's been a project that I've been working on for probably 3 years, and it's finally shipping. I want to make sure tonight that I go through all of the little tips and tricks that I've learned from myself personally setting up my skates, from the team and their experience with setting up their skates, and now from skaters who have no affiliation, no reason to enjoy the skates, asking me for questions, giving me feedback, and things that I've learned from customers that I feel the community could appreciate and get their skates dialed in a little bit more. So that is going to be the plan. After that, I think we'll pause, we'll take a few questions. So if you are asking questions or if you have questions, I would recommend to hold on to your question. I'll probably get to it during this little segment. Hold on to your question until, I don't know, until towards the end. I'll let you know when I wrap up. And throw your question out there. I do want to answer your questions, especially if it's about the Omni, but if it's about anything about rollerblading, would love to answer your question. Just remember that YouTube kind of limits how much I can scroll. So if you've asked a question already, odds are I won't be able to see it. So when I ask for questions, probably 30 minutes from now, I'll scroll to the top and I'll see all of the questions that are added. That is the time that you should ask your question. And I am here to answer questions if you have them. But before then, I want to get into the Omni so that I can get people to bed if you're waiting. I want to get you to sleep on time if you have to wake up in the morning. So what I thought we could do is I thought I would walk you through unboxing the Omni like you just bought them from a store and going through all of the little things that I do when I'm setting up my Omni, as well as share some of my dirty laundry, I guess. The little things that I've seen in the Omni that we want to fix for version 2. Little things that shouldn't be the way that they are. So I always say that samples are easy, production is hard. This is our first production. So we have been sampling the Omni for a little over a year now. but this is the first time we've ever done more than a dozen pair at a time. And when you get into mass production, things change. The amount of time that you wait between each of the steps changes. The attention to detail, when they're sending samples from the factory, they want those samples to be as good as possible. When they're doing production, maybe they're not as concerned about having the samples as good as possible, or the skates as good as possible. Now, you would hope that they will, and we have an amazing relationship with our factory. We have given them a laundry list of things that they are already fixing for version 2. But there is nothing, the nice thing is there is nothing in version 1 that you can't fix with a few little tweaks to dial in that Omni so that it skates as good as the samples, as good as the skates that we've been testing that we want you to skate. Out the box though, they might not be perfect. And I'm going to walk through a few ways that you can identify the little things that shouldn't be the way that they are, fix the little things that shouldn't be the way that they are, and walk you through how I set up my Omni. Everybody's got a little different flex for the way that they like to skate. I skate my skates a little bit differently. I'm going to show you how I set mine up, and I'm going to talk to you about a few things that people have mentioned to me that help them get their Omni feeling better, fitting better, and skating better. Sounds good. All right, so let's get started. So I have in my hands a unopened box of standard Omni. So these are a size medium. These are a complete setup. I always recommend people get the complete setup. First of all, it's the only way to get the frames. You will not be able to buy these frames aftermarket. You might be able to get them on Blade Trade. You might be able to get them from a shop if they bought these and then they parted them out. But we are not selling these frames as a frame. It is a great frame. If you've watched the Loco video, you can see Jake first session going out there doing back royales like it's nobody's business. It is probably one of the better flat frames out there. We designed it so that you could skate whatever setup you want, however you want, even if you don't have an opinion on frames. And I feel like we've accomplished it. So give the frames a chance. They also come with great wheels. It is a really great out-the-box setup. And at the price, $300 US, it is not going to break the bank to get yourself a complete setup. But you can get a boot only, you can get a shell only if you want. I recommend the complete. Today we're going to open up the complete. So in the box, there's some duplication, so I will just go through one of each thing. But in the box you get 2 skates. You get this bag of frames. And you get these shock absorbers. There's another skate in here as well. I'm going to put one of the shock absorbers away. I'm going to put it out here. I'm going to put the frames over here. I'm going to put the boot over here. And I'm going to put the box away. It's not a lot you can do with the box, but it is a nice box. All right, first things first, as you open up the box, the first production surprise, I guess I would call them, things that we've never seen before in sampling, but then we get thousands of skates and hello, surprise, every single skate has a bag around it. Which is frustrating because we wanted these to be fairly eco-friendly. We wanted to be, you know, save the trees. Don't use plastic bags if you don't have to. And every single skate has a plastic bag around it. Every boot. So you get 2 bags, one around each boot. You also get a pair of bags, a set of bags. We built this nice little mesh bag so that shops could see the color of the frames and the setup of the frames, so that if they had a complete and they wanted to put a white frame on a black skate, all they would have to do is open the box, take the frames out, and put them in another box. Great, right? Well, it's hard to see if they're wrapped in a plastic bag. We give you so many plastic bags. You don't have to pay for these. They come free with purchase. Very frustrating. So V2 should not have all of the unnecessary plastic bags. I don't think there's any reason for that amount of plastic to be used. We have a nice mesh bag. This will protect the frames really nicely. They won't get scratched up in the box. You'll be able to see which frames are in there. The plastic bag around the boot, I still think is very unnecessary. Some sort of a cardboard thing separating the two boots when they're in the box. But I do apologize for the amount of plastic. It is not our intent to have plastic all over the place. That was something that we actually talked about with the factory, saying we wanted to save the environment, don't use plastic where you can, and they use plastic anything. That's production for you. Sometimes it goes the way that you expect. Sometimes you get a surprise. Anyway, so this is the way the standard Omni comes. So you can see the new rivets have a little hole in them. I've mentioned this a few times, but it begs repeating. There is a hole in this rivet. It is still a rivet. You can put a tool in there. You could put a tool in there and it will just spin for days because it is not a removable cuff bolt. This is a riveted cuff bolt, even though there's a hole in the middle. The reason why we went with riveted is because we didn't want anybody to lose a cuff bolt. It's very important to us that you go out there every session and you can have a great time. If you lose a cuff bolt, session over, especially if you lose it and you can't find it. They are riveted and it looks like they're not. A lot of questions around that. They are definitely riveted. You cannot remove these. Before I get started, so as I was setting up my current setup, I did the sole plate swap. Before you change your sole plates, before you put on your frames, I always like to recommend, tools in the middle, I always like to recommend people tighten down their sole plates. So we use 4 bolts for the sole plate mount to the boot. Now, a couple things to mention about the sole plate. First of all, we noticed that these sole plates are not perfectly flat. That is, again, something that we never saw during sampling. My hunch is that they rushed production and didn't allow these sole plates to cool and cure fully before mounting them to the boots. They wanted to make sure that they could beat Chinese New Year's shutdown. Means that we get skates 3 weeks earlier, but it also means that these sole plates are not perfectly flat. Now, all of our samples up until this time, the sole plates have been perfectly flat. This extends to the boot. There's waves underneath the boot that you won't even see because you don't skate. Some of you do, but usually don't skate without the sole plates. That is definitely going to be addressed in V2. Now, if it bugs you, if you have a wavy, I'll show you an example. This one isn't too bad. Some of them are not bad. I'll show you an example. I put this ruler, this is a straight ruler. I'll put this ruler down. And you'll see there's a little bit of gap above the sole plate that you can see a little bit of air. That is a wave that I am very frustrated with. But I have a theory about why that happened. First of all, we're not the only brand that has this. And I have a theory about why the other brands have this as well. The sole plates, I feel, had not been fully cured before they were mounted onto the boot. The shock absorber, the sound pad, the EVA foam that is inside the sole plate. Why don't I take off the sole plate and I'll show you. I'll show you what's happening underneath. So each of our sole plates has a pad on the inside. Two bolts, 3 bolts, and 4 bolts. These are all M6 bolts. The tool that comes with your skates is all that you need for almost everything on the Omni. It is this tool. It has a Phillips screwdriver on one end. It has a 4mm hex key on the other end. Took off all of the bolts. Took out the sole plate. You can see on the inside of the sole plate there is this EVA foam. This is a nice padded foam. It helps keep the sound nice and thumpy. I don't know that there's a good word for it. There's no squeaking when you're skating on an Omni. It sounds just like you're boom, 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 bonking around. Absolutely no squeak, no clicks, nothing like that. It's a very silent, very solid sounding skate. But here's my theory. I feel, and you can kind of see it right here actually, you can see how thin, I don't know if the resolution is going to pick up, you can see how thin it is right here. But then if you look at back here, you can see that there's a little bit more raised. This is the same thickness of material the whole way, but it's thinner here than it is up here. My theory is that they didn't wait for the boots to cure and the sole plates to cure before putting them together. So it wouldn't have been a problem if this was completely flat and if it was just material, just the plastic material. But because there's foam, when they screw these in and it tightens down, I feel as though because there's 2 millimeters of foam, it can squish a little bit. And these two bolts pull down the sole plate onto the boot, and they make it a little, it's completely flat in the middle, but then they make it bow out on the outside. That is my theory. So obviously with version 2, they are going to wait a little bit longer. They're not going to be in much of a rush for Chinese New Year. We're going to make sure that they are completely flat. If your sole plates are not flat, super easy fix to get them completely flat. Put a frame on, mount the frame on. In maybe a day or two, it will flatten itself out. If you're in a rush and you want to flatten them out overnight, all you have to do is remove the sole plate bolts. So the sole plate bolts are what's keeping the sole plate to the boot. If you put the frame on, eventually it will flatten it out. If you want it to flatten out quicker, remove these two bolts, put the frame on, and then just using the UFS bolts, mount your frame on. What that will do is it will equalize the sole plate so that it's completely flat and matches the frame. It will pull up the sole plate from the inside and it'll flatten it out. It is unfortunate. It's frustrating because we've never seen it in sampling, but that is the sort of thing that happens during production. You have to also remember it is their first time making the standard Omni as well. So they make a ton of skates, but this is the first skate that they've ever made that has a shock pad on the inside with a 2-point mounting system with a plastic shell. This design, they've never worked with before. So they are learning as well as we are. Quick fix though, really easy. Nobody's ever mentioned that there's any writing issue. You probably didn't even know that there was this wave under there, but that's me. I like to be completely transparent with things that we're finding and things that we're fixing. I've had no complaints about the sole plate. In fact, I think people rave about the sole plate, and they didn't even know that there was a little bit of a warp underneath. The warp will go away within 24 hours. If you want it to go away quicker, remove the sole plate bolts, put the frame on, and you should be just fine overnight. One of the unique things about the Omni is that it uses these small M6 bolts to mount the sole plate on. And as you can see, they go in nicely as you screw them down. They have a 2 millimeter tall screw head. So as you tighten them all the way down, it is completely flush. So your frame will mount directly on top of this and it will be completely flush. The screws that came on your Omni need to be tightened down. They are not totally tight. I don't know why they didn't totally tighten them, but use the tool that came with it. Get onto the bolts, tighten them down, make sure that they're completely flush. That way, when you put your frame on, it will be completely flat and you won't have any raised area. You won't have any spots that are a little bit higher. It's not going to impact your performance. It's more of just a frustration for me. I feel like the frame should be completely flat on the sole plate. Funny enough, if you look in the front, you can see like a black ring around these two. What is that? Again, a nice little surprise from production. If you put your hex key in there, in the little thing, you pry it up. Oh, There's a little washer. Why is there a washer in the front? I have no idea. I've never seen these washers before in my life. We never saw them during samples. They've never mentioned that they were adding washers to our sole plates. The countersink is 2 millimeters. The head is 2 millimeters. This washer is just making it stick up. I have no idea why. So take your tool. It's really easy. Take your tool. Just go like that. You can see it coming up. And then it slips off. And now it's gone. That's all you need to do. It takes 2 seconds. And then put your sole plate bolts on. It's hilarious that I have to say this. I was shocked when I started assembling skates and I was like, why is it not completely flush? Well, because they added some little bonus washers. And now it's completely flat. Production is hard. What can I say? First time that they've made the Omni. Little fixes. That's everything with the sole plate though. Make sure that you tighten your bolts. Make sure that you remove any washers that might be in the front. And then if you have a little bit of a wavy sole plate, put this frame on overnight. If you want to speed up the process, remove the sole plate bolts. Put the frame on just using UFS. That will flatten out the frame and it will be completely flat for you within a couple of days. I am going to put this bolt back on. I think I lost one. I think it's on the ground somewhere. But that was a fun little discovery while I was trying to ship orders to learn that there were additional things added to the skates that we didn't know about. Don't start a skate company, kids. It is not for the faint of heart. You have to have a lot of relaxation. Oh, here's the other bolt. I'll put the other bolt on. All right. So you got your skates out of the box. You're putting your sole plates on. You're tightening up all of your frame bolts. You're removing any unnecessary washers. Putting your frame on. Each of your skates should come with this bag. This bag includes, it should be in your boot, it includes your tool and 4 frame bolts. Tool, 4 frame bolts. These frame bolts are 20 millimeter. They are long because they have to go all the way up into the Omni, straight through the sole plate and into the T-nuts that are inside. Some frames need special frame bolts in order to work with the Omni. I know for a fact that some of the Wish frames need special frame bolts because the head of our screw, our frame bolt, is a little bit thicker and a little bit wider than the Wish frame requires. The Wish frame is very meticulously designed. They provide their own frame bolts. Unfortunately, their frame bolts are probably 14 millimeter, maybe 12 millimeter. These are 20 millimeters. So the frame bolts that come with the Wish frames will not fit. There might be other frames that need special frame bolts as well. I would contact those companies and see if they have frame bolt recommendations. Some of the frame bolts that you have might fit perfectly. The ones that we provide in the box fit most frames, but there are going to be some frames that they don't fit perfectly. I've spoken with Cletus. He's already sourced the frame bolts. Reach out to him and you can pick up a pair, couple of bucks. They will show up in the mail and you'll be able to skate your Wish frames. In fact, this is what they look like. So these are the old Wish frames, the original Wish frames on the standard Omni. You can see no modification needed. Spins perfectly. I just set these up this evening. Mushroom blading wheels. These are 60 millimeter wheels and then 72 millimeter wheels on the outside. These were my favorite flat frame, favorite cruising frame for many, many years. It's a great setup. And again, out of the box, you can skate these Wish frames on the standard Omni. The only thing that you need is you need to make sure that you have a frame bolt that works properly with this configuration. If you need that frame bolt, reach out. Go to their website or their Instagram. I know that he's posted a link where you can purchase them. All All right, getting the frame set up. So if you bought a complete, you get a pair of Omni aggressive frames, a standard aggressive frame. They come with anti-rocker wheels on the inside. They come with 58mm wheels on the outside, 90A. Not really much going on with the frames. The frames, I think, came out the way that they should. The only issue that I've found with the frames is that sometimes, is this a good example? This isn't a good example. Let me find a frame that needs, this one might. Yeah, let me take this one out. So some of the frames, if you are skating flat, because of the way that this mold was designed, there is a fill spot right next to the frame bolt. So where the frame bolt gets mounted is where they do the injection. And some frames, this one isn't too bad, but you can see a little bit. Some frames, you can see on the inside, there's a little bit, it's kind of hard to see. There's a little bit of flashing and a little burr. Now on some frames, that little burr, this little dot here, on some frames, this burr is a little bit more raised than it should be. And the problem with that is if you are skating flat with 58mm wheels, this wheel might rub on the burr. What that means is you're going to hear a little bit of when you're skating because this wheel is rubbing on this really thin plastic. Easiest thing to do to get rid of it, take a little sandpaper, rub on it a little bit, take a little X-Acto knife, or if you have a deburring tool, just cut out this little burr. It doesn't take more than a millimeter. It probably won't even rub on your setup, but I have had a few reports of people who say that this burr was a little bit more pronounced. Really easy to fix. Again, something that we are addressing in V2. But if you have that problem, rub it down with a little bit of sandpaper. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes to get rid of it. If you're having an issue and you can't do any of that, get in contact with us, standardskate.co/support, for all this information as well as a contact form. Get in contact and we will make sure that your frames are sorted out so that you could skate flat 58s. If you're skating flat 56, you shouldn't have a problem. They don't fit anything more than that. It's a flat 58 frame. But if you are having any weird resistance when you're skating flat, that is probably why. Take the middle wheels out, check this little burr area, make sure that it's nice and sanded down. There's plenty of plastic here. We designed it so that if you wanted to mod it, you could probably fit 60s in there. But the placement of that is a little suspect. They should have taken that down. Again, first production for them as well. They are learning. We will make sure that that's addressed in V2. Right. So putting that frame back on. The frame bolts that come with the Omni are, again, 20mm. They should fit you just fine when you're putting them together. You shouldn't have to take the anti-rocker wheels off in order to put the frame bolts on. And you should be able to use the tool that comes in your skate to tighten them up. Another frame bolt to put those on. Poop. Only takes a few spins. I think we get 6 or so spins into the T-nut. All right. You need to put this anti-rocker wheel on. As always, if you run into any problems setting up your skates, contact the shop that you bought them from. That is what they are there for. If you're having no luck speaking with the shop, reach out to us. standardskate.co/support is the place to go for all of this information as well as a contact form. All right. And that is how you set up your skates. So now you can go out there and skate. It has a nice frame on it. It's got that sole plate. Everything is ready for you to go out there and skate. That's probably the main things that I've seen with the sole plate and with the frames. Very small, minor issues that are really easy to fix. I didn't tighten down the anti-rocker wheel and it's making a little bit of noise, so it frustrates me. But if you tighten them down, make sure that you tighten everything while you have a chance. Another thing that I want to do for the next version, add a second hex key. It doesn't have to be the same tool that we use, but in order to tighten things down, because it's a two-sided axle, you need to be able to hold it in place with a hex key and then tighten it with the tool that we provide. So we will look to add a second hex key. I don't know why we didn't do that, but there, with the version 2, there should be a hex key. Everybody's got a hex key. If you've ever been to an IKEA, if you've ever ordered furniture from the internet, you have a hex key. It's a 4mm hex key. It should be really easy to source, but that is the thing to do. Tighten all of your bolts. Make sure that everything is nice and secure. Then you should be good to go out there and skate. So easy. And now you know how to replace your frames. You can get new frames. There are plenty of frames. You can see a bunch of them on the wall from big wheels. If you want to skate big wheels, these are 80mm frames on the standard Omni. Really easy to go out there and cruise around your neighborhood with this setup. These are, where did my very popular Create Originals frames. These are China's frames. Very nice anti-rocker setup. Really easy to get out there and do some grinds. Very popular street frame. If you are skating big wheels, we've had a lot of great feedback from people who are skating big wheels with no sole plate. So you can take off the sole plate and you can ride the skates with just big wheels, not doing grinds, but just doing big wheels. Like this. So this has no sole plate on it. You can see the base of the boot. The frame is mounted directly to the boot. We didn't know how this was going to work because we are not big wheel skaters. We're mostly aggressive skaters. We have skated without them, but nothing big, nothing bigger than 80mm. I've had people skating them with 90s. These are 90mm Kaiser element frame. I've had people skate them with 100s on Wizard frames, and they absolutely love this setup. The base of the boot is 7mm thick. It is a very thick boot. And because it is completely flat, it is really easy for you to mount this frame directly to the boot. All you need to do is remove the sole plate. Those two bolts that hold the sole plate in on the front and the back, remove those, pull off the sole plate, put your frame directly on, and you're good to go. Couple tips. The 20mm frame bolts that come with your Omni are going to be way too long. This sole plate is a thick boy. It is thick because we needed a lot of groove or a lot of angle in order for the sole to be juiced. We needed a good amount of material so that the Royale groove fit properly, which means that these frame bolts are 20mm. If you're mounting directly to the skate, I recommend using a 14mm, even a 12mm frame bolt. Super easy to do. Same mounting pattern. You don't have to worry about these outside screws. They will add absolutely nothing to the equation. All you have to do is mount it directly to the boot. You'll have a nice flat setup. A lot of fun. I think people are really going to love this for wizard skating. It's a very stiff boot, supportive cuff, and with it being so low and so responsive, it's really, really great for big wheels like this. I will recommend, if you're skating them with these plastic frames, and if you choose to go direct to the boot with a plastic frame, make sure that you put some washers between the frame and the base of the boot. The reason is UFS assumes that there is a 2mm nub underneath, 3mm nub, 2mm, 3mm nub underneath. If you don't have this little nub and you tighten the frame bolt down, it will pull especially if you get it really tight, it will pull in and kind of create this volcano kind of look on the inside. Because there's nothing keeping it, there's 3 millimeters of space, there's nothing keeping it flush to the boot. So put some washers under there, make sure that it's completely flat. Otherwise you risk breaking your frames. Ask me how I know, it's not a good thing. If you're skating aluminum frame, you're absolutely fine because the aluminum is strong enough, it's not going to bend. Plastic though, definitely can bend. Make sure that you put a few washers under there so that it's completely flush, so that the frame bolt has a little bit of resistance before it bottoms out. Okay, so your skates are all set up for skating. Couple of tweaks that you can do inside the shell. So first of all, your skates should come with the comfort liners. These are our stock liners for the standard Omni. They are a heat moldable liner. What that means is this padding area responds really nicely in the oven or when you're out skating. It will turn into a more pliable material, and when it cools off, it will harden up. What that means is if you put them in the oven, 170 degrees, 15 minutes, make sure that you put them on a baking sheet or a sheet pan or whatever you want to call it. Put them on there, slide them in, leave them in there for 15 minutes or so at 170 degrees. They will become nice and kind of like a gel. Then when you are done heating them up, put them back in your shell, slide them back in, and then put them on your feet, tie them up tight, and let your foot just kind of sit there and act as the object that this is now molding around. After about 20 minutes or so, it'll cool off, it'll get a little bit more firm, and you will have a really nice, comfortable liner. There's heat moldable material all around this liner, so it's not just in the ankles, it's also down in this area. So if you're getting any tightness in the liner itself, always recommend heat molding. It's really easy to do. You can do it a few times if you don't get it right the first time. 170 degrees, put it on the cookie sheet, baking pan, slide it in there 15 minutes, take it out, put it in your shell, put your foot in there, sit for a little bit, and let it do its thing. What else have people said about the liners? People actually really like the liners. There hasn't been a lot of feedback. Some people, again, have mentioned that they feel a little bit tighter than they're used to. I think an overall trend is the Omni feels a little bit tighter than they're used to. And that is by design. We made sure that the Omni wasn't a overly large shell. So we made sure that we published not just the recommended sizing for our comfort liners, but the internal sizing of our shells. What that means is, without the liner, if you take this, what is this, a medium shell, the inside of this shell is 282 millimeters from the inside back to the inside toe, inside this toe to here. 282 millimeters. You can see that information if you take out the shock pad. And you look on the inside, you can see, might be hard to see, but you can read on the inside of your skates, it says standard 282. And then this says R because this is the right skate. The L would be the left skate. That is the amount of distance, the amount of space inside the shell. So if you had your own liners, if you had a very thin liner, you could put your own liners in there. Measure your own liners. Make sure that your own liners are shorter than 282 millimeters. Put them in this shell, then put your foot in, and they should fit just fine. Our liners are a little bit more padded. They're not as thin as a performance liner, like an Intuition or an RL2 or a Rain V3. So you're going to have a little bit more padding, a little bit more comfort, but it's also going to be a tighter fit if your foot is a little bit bigger. And that again is by design. We wanted to make sure that they fit really nicely. We did our best to publicize the sizing. I am seeing a lot of confusion out there. So we're going to do our best to clean up our sizing so that it makes more sense. I do think that listing the internal measurements might have caused a little bit of confusion. People weren't quite sure what size they should get or if they were able to fit. We've had a few people think that they could fit into a shell and then say, hey, it's way too tight. That was probably just on us giving way too much information and not being as clear as we could be with the accurate sizing. People also expect skates to be a little bit bigger on the inside than they actually are. These are very form-fitted skates. You're not going to have a lot of wiggle. You're not going to have a lot of excess room. When we say that the inside is 282, when we say that the biggest foot that you should fit in there is a size 9, 272 millimeter foot with our stock liner, that is the biggest that you should go. You might be able to fit in there with an Intuition. You might be able to fit in there with a RL2. But if you want to play it safe, 272 is the biggest that you're going to be able to go. And if you follow that, and if you measure your feet at home, you should have no problem. You run into issues when you go off of other skates sizing. You run into issues when you use your shoes as a sizing guide. It's really hard. You know, we say that this is our size 8-9 skate. It's really hard when a Nike size 9 is different than a Reebok, I guess, size 9 or whatever. Any other shoe size 9, they could be a little bit different. They could fit completely different. The Omni has a big toe box. It's a very round toe box, so you're going to get a little bit more room up there, but you're not going to get a huge amount of room like some other shells that might just be much bigger. If you compare a size 9 to, you know, a different shell, it's going to look very different. And that's just the way that some skates are. We're learning a lot more now that we've got hundreds of people out there skating Omni. We know what fits well and what doesn't. And we're going to be updating the sizing with a little bit more guidance for what skate you should get, and hopefully have a little bit more help for people to measure their feet so that they can figure out what size feet they actually have and what size skate they really need. In saying that, heat molding really helps. So you're going to be able to get a few millimeters out of this if you heat mold this, especially if you're getting a little bit of tightness on the width. The width of these skates is a fairly wide skate, believe it or not. The liner itself might be a little bit less wide. So bringing your own liner might help. Letting these break in a little bit might help. Heat molding them might help. There's a lot more space inside your shell than you might realize. I always recommend, if you're trying to downsize, if you're trying to figure out if this is the right shell for you, take the liner out of your shell and just put your foot in this without your liner at all. Put your foot in with your socks and see how much space you've got. Can you move your foot forward and backwards? If you can, that means that it's probably the right shell for you. Not too much, but you don't want to be putting your foot in there and not be able to move your foot. If you can't, then you should upsize. You can go to a bigger shell. Same goes for the width. You put your foot in there, you move left and right. It might fit great, it might not fit great. If you can feel a little bit of movement left and right, they're probably okay. The width of these liners is much thinner. This area between, pull out the tube, the area between the inside and the side, it's fairly thin. So if you put your foot in the shell and you can move left and right inside the shell, then you're probably fine. These are not the most narrow skates. They're definitely not the widest skates, but they should be fairly generous. So if these liners don't fit you, there's plenty of other liners out there that might. I like the MyFit Second Skins. I think those are really great for downsizing, especially if you have a wide foot and you're trying to fit yourself into a shell. Second Skins are very thin on the outside. It's probably what I would recommend for most people if they're having any fit issues trying to get into the skates. Talk a little bit about shock absorbers. So I already pulled out this one. I ride stock. I ride with this white shock absorber. This is our performance shock absorber. It is 60A. What that means is when you squish it, it is like a wheel, 60A, 60 on the Shore A scale. We also include in every box the black shock absorbers. These are a little bit squishier. These are 45A, so they're going to be a little bit softer, a little bit more for aggressive skating. Now, what a lot of people do, I just skate it like this. I like just having a 10 millimeter, these are 10 millimeters thick. I like having just a 10 millimeter raise. That is the way that I feel best when I'm skating. But what a lot of people do is they'll take this, they'll peel off the backing, and they'll put the black one on top of the white one. What that does is it creates a 20 millimeter shock absorber, which is very similar to some of the taller shock absorbers out there. It's more than just a raised heel boot, but if you were skating a typical raised heel boot, and then you had a shock absorber on your liner, on your MyFit liner or whatever, or your Intuitions, that would be a very similar, a comparable feeling to this. The mix of the harder material and the softer material will make a really good responsive ride. It'll give you a lot of padding, but it won't feel sloppy. It's a really, really great dual density shock absorber. It's also really handy for squeaking out a few more millimeters. If you are skating the medium shell and your foot is 27.5 and you want to skate this shell, even though our stock liners are designed for 27.2, but you need 3 more millimeters, if you skated both of the shock absorbers, you'd get a little bit more room in there. If you skated a Intuition liner, you could get a little bit thinner heel, a little bit thinner toe, and you should be able to fit with a 27.5. We've heard a lot of people skating the medium Omni with a 27.5 centimeter foot, absolutely loving it. The way they're getting to make it work is they're doubling up the shock absorbers. They're using an Intuition Premium or an Intuition V2, or they're using a MyFit Second Skin, one of the thinner performance liners. With a double shock absorber, there's plenty of room in there for you to fit. Best thing to do is experiment. The shells are fairly generous. All that you need to do is throw different liners in there. We do sell them shell only. I love our stock liners. The comfort liners are great. This is what I skate. I have all of the liners, but I skate the comfort liners because I love them the most. But if you have other liners, try them out. Different feet feel differently in different configurations. So you might be shocked at which liners feel the best for you. Give the comfort liners a try. That is what we recommend. They fit the skate perfectly, but that doesn't mean they fit your feet perfectly. So see what liners you've got. Play around with the different size shock absorbers. See what feels best when you're out there skating. They're your skates. You can skate them however you want. There's no wrong way to set them up. We have had some feedback that there are some pressure points. And this is one of the things that it happens as soon as you get a skate in front of, again, hundreds of people. It is a bigger amount of data, and there are more feet configurations out there. So they're going to find different pressure points that maybe you haven't felt before. 2 main pressure points that I have been notified of and that we are actively working to resolve for V2. First is the heel. So I wasn't aware that this heel was tight, but we do have some people who are mentioning that they're getting some heel pain, some heel pressure inside the shell. Typically, that heel pressure is coming from skaters who are also riding Intuition Premium liners. Now, our theory is that because the shock liners have, or the comfort liners have just this little heel raise pad in the back, the Intuition Premium have this larger thing that goes around like this, and then it comes around up here. It's like a ankle supporter sort of thing. Our theory is that that is Maybe that the heel wouldn't feel any pain at all if they were just putting them in with comfort liners or with the normal liner, but because it has that addition of the ankle support, it's making the volume of that heel a little bit big, and that's what's causing the pressure. The nice thing about the Omni is that this material that we're using is also heat moldable. Not just our liners are heat moldable, but you can adjust little pressure points on the Omni by heat molding this material. Another pressure point that I have been working on, and this is probably the one that, this is our top priority for V2. So if you're experiencing this, not a lot of people are, maybe about 15-20% of people that I've heard from are having some ankle pain here. But this little area, it's on the inside edge. So if you look at the skate, this is the outside, this is the inside. If you look at the area here on the inside of the skate, this little area right here, this area is also causing people some pain. That is something that we thought that we addressed pretty well. We definitely felt it when we were first testing these samples. We thought we addressed it pretty well in production. It took a few months for us to figure it out. But there are still people out there who are experiencing it. So if you are that person who's out there experiencing it and getting a little bit of ankle pain, you are not crazy. It is definitely a thing. There are other people out there who are experiencing it. There are other skates that used to be on my wall, aren't on my wall tonight, but there are other skates that cause the same pain for some people. It is not okay. It is something that we are actively working on. Again, this is our top priority for V2. We want to fix this ankle tightness more than anything. So if we don't do anything new in V2, fixing the ankle tightness is going to be the main thing. We do have some solutions though. So if you are experiencing that pain or if you're getting the heel pain, remember this plastic shell is heat moldable. Instead of the 170 degrees in the oven for 15 minutes, you're going to do 200 degrees in the oven for 15 minutes. Before you put your skates in the oven, you're going to want to remove the shock absorbers. Shock absorbers are not good for the oven. You can remove your laces if you want. I don't think it really matters, but you can remove the laces if you want. Take the frames off. You don't need the frames when you put them in the oven. I'm going to leave them on here, but take the frames off. You don't want to put your frames in the oven, especially not your wheels. That would be bad. If you have a softball or anything that's like a cricket ball or something that's big that you can shove in there for your heels, shove it in there, try to open it up a little bit more, put it in the oven, let it sit, let it come to temperature, 15 minutes, pull it out of the oven, let it sit there overnight, and then pull the thing out from inside your ankle. And it should give you a few little millimeters of extra space. I had my, where did it go? I left it out. I left it in the warehouse. Oh, I have a shoe stretcher. So what this does is it is a plastic, like the thing that, if you look on the inside of your liners, they come with these paper things that fill it out. A shoe stretcher is very similar to this. It's made of plastic or some other material. You shove it inside and you can add little things to it, little pieces of plastic that can help expand little pressure point areas. With a shoe stretcher, you want to heat it up first. You don't want to put the shoe stretcher in the oven because that could be bad. Put this in there for, again, 15 minutes, 200 degrees. Pull it out and it will be warm and a little bit malleable. Shove the shoe stretcher in there. You can get a few millimeters more of length, but you can also target specific areas that you're getting pain. Some people get a little bit of pain up here. Stretch it out, give you a little bit more width, especially if you have a wider foot. Shoe stretcher is a really great tool for that. They're like 15 bucks or so on Amazon. Again, standardskate.co/support if you need information or if you want to learn a little bit more. Happy to help you about this. We tried to make sure that these skates fit as many feet as possible. Obviously, they're not going to fit every foot, but we do have a few ways of fixing the skates so that they can fit you better. That big problem though, that ankle issue, this is something that we are actively working on. The fix that we've found, so in every Omni, you're going to get this paper retaining tube. Typically they're in the liners. So if you got a complete or a boot only, you'll find these paper tubes in the liner. Hold on to these tubes. They're really useful for addressing pain points, pressure points. If you're getting any pain on the inside, use this tube and shove it inside your shell where the pain is coming from. Like this. So these these tubes are about 4 inches wide. What it does is, you can see this area, there, that's better. This area here and here is where it's getting tight. Using this, shove it in there, open it up a little bit. You can see how wide it gets. You can see on the sides, nice and wide over here. This is a good angle right there. You can see it's getting really wide over here. It goes like this. Put that in the oven, 15 minutes, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Let it sit overnight. It should get nice and firm overnight. You could pull it out. It will retain its width. Even just now, it's a little bit wider, just after sitting it in there for a little bit. Leave it in there overnight. It will remember that width. The plastic is really good. It has a great memory. And then when you put your skate in, when you go out there to skate again, put your liner in, see what it feels like. If it didn't remove the pain point completely, couple other tricks that you can do, you can always do it again. Couple of times, you know, keep nudging that plastic out, keep reminding it, hey, you need to be a little bit wider, you need to be a little bit wider. If that doesn't work, this top lace hole, try experimenting without lacing it all the way up. We feel as though the problem that people are experiencing, and this isn't a ton of people, but this is enough people that we're going to make sure that we address it in V2. People might be getting this pinch because it's being laced up all the way. So if you skip that last lace hole, you just lace it up to here, it will change that area so it won't pull in all the way at the top lace hole. You might get a little bit of relief up there. Finally, if all else fails, if you're not able to get any pain or any pressure relief with the heat molding with the tube, or by skipping that top lace hole, we found that there's actually a really good solution using some foam. So I found this weather stripping foam that I've been using. This is a 3mm thick foam. It is 1 inch wide, and it is adhesive on one side. What you can do is you can take some of that foam, or you can buy some on Amazon if you like, and pad out this area a little bit. When you then put your liner in and you buckle down your buckle so that your cuff is nice and tight, the foam will normalize that area. So you won't get that pressure point, that single spot that's digging into your ankle. That won't happen anymore. The foam that we use here, you can wrap that around this area and normalize it, make it completely flat. Or you can get a little bit of foam, put it on the side of your liner when you slip your liner into your shell. What you're trying to do is you're trying to expand this area so that this isn't a single spot that's digging into your ankle. Opening it up helps, lacing it a little bit lower helps, and then adding a little bit of foam definitely will help. If you are having that ankle issue, again, there's a lot of people out there who are having no issues whatsoever, but I am hearing from people who are having ankle issues. We're addressing this. I want to make sure that we're here to help. standardskate.co/support. Get in contact if all else fails and you can't figure things out, or you lost your tube and you need a new tube, or something, you need some foam and you don't want to buy a big thing from Amazon. reach out. We're here to help. We want to make sure that you love your Omni like we love our Omni. If you're getting a little pain up there, we can help dial it in so that it feels better for you. What else? That's really it. We've been very lucky to have a really great launch. You know, a few fit issues, a few quality assurance issues, but for a V1, I think this is a very accomplished skate. And I think we've heard enough from people, the responsiveness, the lightness, the not having to do anything to get used to the sole plates. The sole plates just grinding fresh out of the box, the grooves grinding perfectly straight out of the box. Everything really worked out the way that we had hoped. Few little production issues that we will be addressing, but I'm really, really proud of our V1 release. I think with a few little tricks, you're able to dial in what you've got with V1 and make it a really amazing skate for you. If there's anything at all that you're experiencing with your Omni and you're just not feeling it, something isn't fitting right, reach out, let us know. You know, not only is this something that we want to make right, but we want to learn from our first release and improve over the next release. We've already got a roadmap, V3, V4, already planned out. If there are things that we can change along the way that would make people's experience with the Omni a little bit more enjoyable, we want to know about it. You know, we haven't been able to ask people. This is the first time that normal skaters, general public, whatever you want to call it, have been able to skate the skates. And we're learning a ton, you know. We thought that we had a great skate. We've heard that we have a great skate, but it could be an even better skate. And the only way that it's going to get better is if you let us know what you like, what you don't like, and we will do everything that we can to make these improvements so that every version of the Omni that comes out is a little bit better. Again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. These are the worst skates that we will ever make. Every version from here on out is going to be better than these skates. So we are setting the bar. We're going to continue to improve. Huge, huge thank you to everybody out there who's purchased the Omni, who's skated the Omni, who's given us feedback, who's posted on the Instagram or Facebook and said, I love these skates, or I'm not feeling these skates. Any way that you can provide feedback, let us know that we're doing something right. It really means a lot. We are in this to make the best skates possible, and we couldn't do it without your support. All right, is that everything? I think that's everything in here. One thing that I didn't talk about, it's kind of outside of the dialing in everything, but I did talk a little bit about the sizing. We are going to work on making sure that the sizing for our skate is a little bit easier for people to understand. It is hard to go off of years and years of history of sizing that I feel has been maybe not the most correct. I love a skate, and whenever I do back to blading reviews, I use the same feet. Like, they're always 28.5 centimeters. They're always a size 44, and I expect that the skate is going to feel like a size 44 skate. If it doesn't, if it's a little big, if it's a little small, if it's a little narrow, if it's a little wide, I let you know. Using that data is how we designed the Omni, and we want to make sure that a size 44 feels like a 44, a 40 feels like a 40. We're going to do everything that we can to get as many people into skates that feel great as possible. And in saying that, with launch, we have 4 shell sizes. So we have the size 40, the 42, the 44, 46. What that equates to is roughly, for US sizing, it is a 6-7 shell, an 8-9 shell, a 10-10.5 shell, and an 11-12 shell. That shell break isn't normal. It isn't something that you see with other skate brands. But I feel like that is a pretty great gap. Each of the shells is about 12 millimeters apart, which means that at the worst case, you will be at the bottom of the shell with 12 millimeters in front of you. That's not too bad. Especially if you have other liners that you can mess around with. You can use different shock absorbers to adjust a few millimeters here and there. What about the people who have a size 38 foot or a 37 foot? You know, the people who are in a size 5 or a size 4. They're going to have a lot more space. And we heard loud and clear that while we do have 4 shell sizes and that we're having a huge amount of shell breaks with our first release. I don't know if there's been another skate company that came out with this many shells at launch. Maybe there has been, but it's definitely not the norm to have 4 shell breaks at launch. Usually it's about 3. We've been working on another shell. So again, this is our first release. Usually it takes a while, but we have heard loud and clear that we need to do something for people with smaller feet. So over the last month, we've been working on our extra small shell. So this is our extra small shell. We brought these to Winter Clash. They are a size 38 shell. So this is a 25/9 internal measurement, which means that if your foot is around 25 centimeters, this will be the shell for you. Right now, you're forced to put your foot into the size small. The size small is designed for 26 centimeter foot. This is 12 millimeters shorter than the size small. This is very similar to the Them Extra Small. We heard from a lot of people that want to skate Omnis, but maybe they have smaller feet. We are working on this, and we plan on having this shell available with V2. It's ridiculous that we're able to come up with another shell so quickly, but this was something that we prioritized from the beginning. We heard loud and clear that there were enough people out there with smaller feet that wanted to skate the skates that don't have a lot of great options out there. We wanted to make sure that we took care of that. And we provided a shell that people with smaller feet could get into, wouldn't have to settle for a small that's just going to be big, wear big liners, etc. So the measurements, it is designed for a size 38 foot. Obviously, you can buy them complete with our liners. They will go for a size, what is that, a 4/5 boot or 4/5 foot. So this is the 4/5 liner. We actually got a liner sample already. So this is the 4/5 liner. And then this is the shell. The internal is 259. It is designed for a 25 centimeter foot, which is a size 6'7", I guess? 6'7", that sounds right, US. Size 38, international, Europe. We hope to have these with V2. So we've already started, we haven't sent the money yet, but we've already started confirming the molds. We brought them to Winter Clash, and we had about a dozen people try them on. Great feedback so far. I feel like the work that we did with the small and with the medium, we were able to shrink them down, find the right size. People tried them on, and they fit great. So if you've been interested in getting the Omni, but you haven't been able to because it is too big for you, this should be a great solution for you. Hoping to have these in summer. So that is our goal for V2. We have a lot of work to do. We also have a lot of skates that we want to sell through. So the V1 skates are great. If you're waiting for something that is a little bit smaller, we will have those out in V2. As soon as we sell through most of the skates for V1, we will start the production for V2, and we'll be bringing those out. Big points of V2. Of our production in V2, obviously we're looking to fix some of the production issues that we had. Everything that we've had is addressable. We don't want people to have to do that after buying their skates. We're hoping that you'll be able to just put the skates on and go out there and skate. You won't have to do any tweaks. You don't have to remove any unnecessary gear. You won't have plastic bags all over the place. Little things like that. That is going to be the main focus of V2. In addition, we're going to be focusing on the ankle pressure issue. So if you're experiencing ankle pressure, we are working on that for V2. We do have some fixes that we can help you with if you're having that problem. and we would be more than happy to help you with. But finally, for V2, we are going to introduce a new shell size, the extra small. It should fit people up to a size 25 centimeter foot. The goal, again, is to release in summer. All right. I think that's everything. So it has been a great launch. Again, thank you all for your feedback and your support. Couldn't be happier. Shops are selling through and already asking for more skates, which is an amazing sign. Shops around the world, and Loco hasn't even gotten theirs yet. I don't know that Rampant in Australia has gotten theirs yet either. I think This Is Soul is just getting theirs this week. So for people to already be asking for new skates, for more skates, that's a really, really great sign. Again, we couldn't have done this without your support. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel, supporting all of the brands that I've worked on in the past, giving me all of those great ideas, and being able to do Gear Talk and listen to skaters and actually put all of that information together and package it up into a skate that fits the needs of 90% of skaters out there. It's been a dream come true. This is really like my lifetime achievement, thing that I'm probably going to be most proud of, aside from my wife and kids, is being able to create the standard Omni. So again, thank you all so much for the support. We really couldn't do it without you. All right. I think we are in a good place. It is an hour and a half into the show. It is time for some questions. So if you have any questions, if you have gotten the Omni and you have a question about your Omnis and you want me to help you out, if you are interested in something else going on and you have a question on your mind, this is the time to ask. If you asked a question earlier in the show, I'm not going to be able to see it. I'm going to start taking questions now. So please ask your question again if you asked it before. YouTube is really good about eating up all of the questions and all of the chat from before. You can't really scroll all the way up. So if you've got a question, let me know. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. I'll stick around until there are no more questions. Let me get some water. I already see a few questions, so get some water and get started answering. All right. Darren, hi again, Lawrence. I'm 27-1, but always have worn Seba CJ's 10 US. But now I'm getting right into grinding and the Seba are feeling a bit looser, so I'm thinking Omni size medium. 27-1 is probably your perfect size in the size medium. The feedback that I've gotten on the medium shell, so it's important to note that every shell is a little different. It's not just the same width throughout. It's not the same length throughout. There's a little bit of ratio difference. And what we did is we scaled up by a percentage, and we did 3D prints of each of the shells, and we sent them to people who were, from a measurement, the right size. And each of those shells fits those people perfectly, but that doesn't mean that they're going to fit you perfectly. I'm really proud of the medium shell. I think the medium shell is probably the pinnacle of what we wanted to do. It is the right width and the right length. The ratio is spot on. 27.1 centimeters is probably perfect for the medium shell. The internal measurement is 28.2. The comfort liners have about 10 millimeters of padding on average. It has a neoprene toe, so your toes can fit up here and they'll squeak through, but the heel is a little bit thicker. So maybe the heel is like 6 millimeters, the toe is maybe 2 millimeters. So it kind of normalizes itself, say 10 millimeters, and you should be good. With the comfort liners at 27.1, you should be just fine fitting in the medium shell. If you said you skated CJs, if you also have second skins or if you have intuitions, you could easily fit in the medium shell. So you're going to have plenty of space. If you start having any issues, if you put your foot in there and it's a little bit tight, remember, you can adjust the shock absorbers, give yourself a little bit more length. Also, I will add that the shell, you can see the roundness of the toe. Let me take the one with the This is with the sole plate off, so you can see the roundness of the toe. You can see that at the base, it's a little bit lower, and it gets out, so I'll exaggerate, right? But it goes like this. So if you put a heel pad or an insole inside your skate, it will lift up your foot a little bit, and your toes will probably hit a little bit closer to the longest spot in here. Additionally, look at this heel. The heel starts up here, all the way up here. If you had an insole, you put it below your liner, and then you put your liner in, it will raise up your foot a little bit, and you might get a few more millimeters out. Couple little things for tweaking the sizing. Personally, I think at 27.1, you're going to love the medium Omni. I think it's going to be the right shell for you. I think the stock comfort liner is going to fit you like a glove, and you're going to love it. But if you need to tweak some length here and there, you've got a few options on how to make it work. I look forward to seeing some pictures of you in the Omni. I think it'll be a really good setup for you. Especially coming from the CJs, they're a really responsive skate, and I think you'll feel very similar responsiveness with these. Great question. Stubbs, when do you think V2 will be, and what will that be when you do a new color? V2, hoping summer. We've got a few things that we want to fix. You know, the ankle thing is definitely something that we want to address, and I'm not going to rush it. I don't mind not having skates on the market. I know that that might annoy some people, but when we sell out of V1, I want to make sure that we sell out of V1. I don't want shops to end up with a ton of additional inventory of V1, and then I'm bringing in V2, and then they can't, you know, they have to discount V1, and they have to, like, I don't want that. I don't want to create that situation. I want shops to be able to sell through as much of V1 as possible before we bring in V2. So in my estimation, you know, it is the first week of March. Yeah, first week of March. In my estimation, we'll probably be around June, maybe July, when we bring out V2. Yeah, 3 months, 4 months. I think that's probably accurate. Maybe even later in summer. It really just depends on how quickly things sell through. It's hard for us to predict right now because we just launched and we don't know how many skates we need to produce. The first launch is always going to be the biggest because there's people who've never tried it and just want to try it. But I don't want to rush V2. I want to make sure that we do it right. I want to make sure that the changes that we make to the fit, we can test them accurately, we can get them on people's feet, and we can make sure that people who are experiencing any ankle pressure in V1 are not experiencing it in V2. We are ready to wait as long as it takes to fix this so that everybody who gets an Omni has a really great, comfortable ride straight out of the box. Will there be new colors? Can't say. I will say that we'll always do our best to keep black and white skates in stock. It is important to me that there's always a black skate available because I always want a black skate. Most people, I think, are going to want a black skate. So I want to make sure that we always have a black skate. Additional colors on top of that, we will definitely be doing colors in the future. I think that color skates is a great way to differentiate things. It's also really cool to do a custom signature skate for our riders. And I'm a very lucky guy to have an amazing team, and I want to make sure that we do them right. So we're definitely going to be doing some signature skates in the future. Will they be different colors? Most likely, but nothing has been confirmed yet, and you'll probably hear about it here in summer when things do get confirmed and announced. Great question. Ben Vanderhagen, what's been the most difficult decision to make about the Omnis, and what did you have to cut from V1? It's a good question. I don't think we cut anything from V1. I think we came with a plan, and we had a bunch. I mean, there's a laundry list of things. We've got like 5 years of work that we want to do with the Omni. But I don't think there was any expectation that we would land them in V1. V1, we wanted to make sure that we had a quality frame a quality boot, and if there was a thing that we were most proud of, just the sole plate. We wanted to make sure that we nailed the sole plate, because for me, the sole plate is what makes or breaks a skate. People skate rems even though they hurt their feet because the sole plate is so good. I wanted that skate, not the skate that hurt people's feet, but I wanted that skate that had that sole plate that people craved, that they needed to do anything to skate it, because that is something that personally I'm super passionate about. I always do my skate reviews. I always do my grinds, the same grinds, and I test, what does this sole feel like? Is it wide? Is it lock you on good? Is it fast? How is the Royale angle? Does it lock you on good? All of those things we combined into the Omni sole plate, and people are absolutely loving the sole plates. So that was the main thing that we wanted to focus on. Never even considered cutting anything about that. We spent so much time designing that sole plate. I don't think there was anything that we cut. I think that everything that we wanted in V1 made it into V1. Most difficult decision? I think delaying the skate was the most difficult decision. As soon as we started feeling that there might be some fit issues, we spent some time to address them. And we got pretty good. You see people out there skating them and they don't have any problems. That was not the case when we first launched. It was maybe 20% of people were able to skate them. The other 80%, it hurt. So we did make a lot of changes to our production process in order to eliminate as much of the pressure points as possible. A plastic shell, I think I've gotten into this before, but a plastic shell is very different than a plastic frame. A frame is a set base. You know that the bottom of a boot is going to be flat. You know that the mounting holes are going to be 167-ish millimeters apart. You know that this is going to be 41 millimeters. When you design a boot, you do not know anything. You know that the distance between this and this should be approximately X. You know that there's a hole up here for your foot to fit in. And that's really it. Everything else, the height of this, we didn't know. The width, we didn't know. We had to try all of the different configurations, and we are still learning. So we made sure that we had a little bit more room in our shells than we thought was necessary. If we ever said, we should probably add a millimeter here, we added 2, just to make sure that we were a little bit more generous. But feet are feet, and every foot is a little different, every ankle is a little different. When we heard that there were problems with the skates, we had to delay, 2 months, 3 months? That sucked, and that was a very difficult decision. But it was the right call. I never want to ship a skate that I'm not proud of, a product that I'm not proud of. And if it hurt people, then I couldn't put my name behind it, We are very proud with the V1, and we're going to be even more happy with the V2 because it will solve all of the pressure point issues. That is our goal with V2. Great question. Very deep question, Ben. Clark Kirkman, now that you've fixed the ankle issues, what can you do about my knees? Well, if I could figure that out, I would do it myself. There's not much you can do about your knees, Clark. Softer wheels, maybe skate more mini ramp, which I know that you do. Maybe stop doing negative tricks. Just a thought. I don't know. Knees are going to be old and creaky. There's nothing you can do about it. Al Delega, any thoughts on ways to differentiate pro models plastics other than just color? Maybe a sparkly, grainy looking plastic or translucent smoke and clear with a tint? Absolutely. Black and white should always be black and white. And there is always a market. The biggest market is going to be for the plain, flat colors. And that is me. I love a black skate, and I want to stick with a black skate. But every rider needs to be able to express themselves. And we've done some really creative, fun things with wheels and with frames. I don't see any reason why we won't do the same experiments with skates. There's so many options out there. I look at what John's done with the 909. It's amazing. compared to the first gray 909s that came out, to the Danny Beers, to the Brain Deads, to even the Moopies, like all these cool little patterns and little differentiations between each of the models. Love it. I would love to experiment with stuff like that. And after we get all of the V2 fit issues addressed, we've already got these molds. We will now have the production nailed so that we know how to make the skates perfectly. That's when the fun stuff begins. Experiment with different flex of the material. We didn't talk about it, but the skates, the feedback has been they are stiff. And then people start skating them and they're like, hey, you know what? I did the longest sole grind that I've ever done. Or I feel like I'm locking on my top sole better than I ever have. The reason why is because you don't have this floppy skate. You have a nice solid skate. So stiffness relative to what? I feel like the material is great, but we are still listening to customers, and as skaters skate more, we will continue to tweak the material. We've got the shells, we've got the molds. We want to continue optimizing things, and if it's not colors, maybe it's different, flexiness, maybe it's a stiffer skate for a big wheel skater, maybe it's a flexier skate for an aggressive skater. These are all things that we're thinking about now that we've got these molds and we've got the established product. So yeah, definitely just the beginning. I'm very, very excited to experiment in the future, and I'll make sure that we make some sparkly ones for you, Al. Toasty. Lawrence, I'm trying to get a design listed in the core frame market and no one will respond to my emails. If you've sent an email in the last week, I haven't seen it, but I've been a little busy. If you would like, send me an email. You can send it through the Back to Blading if you need to, backtoblading@gmail.com. That is outside of balanced distribution. It won't get in any of the spam filters or anything there. It should go directly to me and I'll address it separately. It's been a really busy month, so if we got an email, I apologize for not getting back to you. I think I remember you speaking about it in the past. I still haven't seen an email. So if that is something that you've been sending, it might be getting stuck in my spam filter. Try the backtoblading@gmail and see if that works, and I will reach out to you. And if you don't, message me on Instagram. That's a good way to get a hold of me. Pouring Blue 7 with the XS shell come with the current small shocks or new XS shocks. They will come with XS shocks. What do they have them in here now? No, these are the small shocks, I think. I think these are small shocks. Yeah, these are small shocks. They fit, but I don't know that they fit properly. Actually, they fit okay. They'll probably come with the small shocks if these fit nicely. They look like they fit really nicely, actually. We knew that we were going to do the XS, so we told the team, the factory engineers, that we were going to be doing a smaller shell. So they might have made this one to fit properly. I would love to spend a little bit of money and do custom shocks for each shell break. It's those little things like the polish that I love. I want them to fit perfectly inside the boot. Probably won't come with V2. New molds are expensive, and we've already got 4 molds plus shells plus soles plus cuffs plus frames plus anti-rocker wheels, all these molds that we're currently paying off. But over time we will continue to improve, and I would love to have an individual shock absorber for each size of skate. I think that would be a really cool thing. Obviously it means you couldn't swap them as easily, but because it is a completely flat boot, you could always just get some scissors and cut things down if you needed them to fit. So my thought is that it will probably use the small. It looks like it fits nice. If they cut that, I couldn't tell, but if they cut that, then we'll probably do a new shock absorber for the extra small. Go-to fashion. Is heat molding the ankle area of the liner with a heat gun an option? I wouldn't use a heat gun ever, and the reason is it's hard to control the heat with a heat gun. The nice thing about an oven is that you can set the temperature and you could put the shell in there or the liner in there, and as it comes from room temperature, it gets to whatever temperature you set in the oven gradually. If you use a heat gun, it's at room temperature, and then this small area gets blasted with a really hot area of focus. That can do some damage. I wouldn't want you to use a heat gun on any of these, on any skate products, to be honest. I think it's just too much heat. It's hard to control. Use an oven. I think that's the right tool for the job. For your liners, really easy to heat mold them. 170 degrees in the oven for 15 minutes. Put them on a baking sheet, put them in there, and then let them sit. Take them out, heat mold them. For your cuffs, for your plastic cuffs, if you're getting any pressure points or anything, 200 degrees, remove anything urethane, remove your frames, remove your shocks. 200 degrees, put it in there. You can put your paper tube in there to widen it up if you want, or you can put it in there, pull it out, and then it will be a nice flexible area. Then you could put this in there, or a little shoe stretcher, or a dowel, or anything that you have that will wedge something out, and you can adjust it there. Heat molding plastic skates is a thing. Plastic skates, carbon skates, definitely a little bit more difficult than heat molding a liner, but it is a thing. You might need to do it a few times, but if you are getting any, this doesn't even need to be the Omni, if you're getting pressure points on any skate, if you want to adjust the sizing, if maybe there's too much space above your toes or anything, heat them up, put them on, lace them in, and you can move this plastic around. That's how plastic works. Not all plastic, but most plastics. Same with carbons. Definitely recommend it. Obviously, consult the manual that came in your skates if you had a manual in your skates. If you didn't, reach out to the brand itself. Make sure that it's okay, but I highly recommend it. They are your skates. Figure out how to dial them in so that they fit you best. But don't use a heat gun. Too much heat, too fast could really damage things. Anton, will there ever be an Omni that doesn't have riveted cuffs? Never say never. The team will probably always have riveted cuffs, but if we have a signature skate, maybe they want a cuff that, could be removed. I listen to my team. If they want something for any reason, we'll definitely talk about it. And if it's convincing enough, we'll definitely do it. I listen to customer feedback. End of the day, I've made the skates that I want. Now it's time to make the skates that everyone wants, and that's how we're going to continue to succeed. So yeah, definitely nothing in the cards yet, but never say never. Go to fashion again. Can we see a close-up from the black Omni with cutlass frames without sole plates behind your head? Black sole plates. Oh, this one? Can't really show you this one yet. I'll show you that one in a little bit. It's something that we're working on. It's not ready, but it's there. It's there now. I skated them at Winter Clash, and they were very fast. I think you'll like them. It just jumped around a little too much. Aldelega, care to elaborate on the rumored plans for a powered massage insole? Heard they were like sharper image chair for your feet. I don't like to talk about future plans. Nothing to confirm, but it is something that we're looking into. We have open sourced the sole plate design, so I know that there were a few designers out there looking at voice activated sole plates. Don't want to drop any names, but there's a lot of potential out there. I think you're going to be really excited to see what people come out with. But again, no comment yet. Can neither confirm nor deny. Jarrell, I have the XL shell and the Omni fits perfect. Great. I really like the skates and they've been great, but wondering if there's a way to get a little bit more lateral flex. First of all, appreciate the feedback on the fit. The XL is for people who are a size 11, 12. It is a 310 millimeter internal. So if you've got a 30 centimeter foot, perfect size for you. You can also downsize if you've got an intuition liner or something like that, 30.5, 30.2 or something like that. If you're talking about lateral flex, so for top sides or for royals or something like that, There's a few things that you can do. I mean, over time it will break in. So they are very supportive skates. As a 47-year-old man with bad knees, I am able to do all of my tricks with an Omni that I was able to do with more floppier skates. Technique has a lot to do with it. If you're missing your tricks, technique has a lot to do with it. A lot of bending your knees more, straightening things out. You'll get used to it. From a flex perspective, though, the warmer it gets, the more flex you're going to get. So you can get warmth by skating them more and moving them around. So after 4 or 5 sessions, you'll be moving them around more, and you'll end up getting a little bit more flex. As it starts warming up, especially in the summer months, you're going to get more flex. Yandi was up in Chicago for most of our filming and testing, and it's cold in Chicago. He went down to Miami last month and was like, I can do all of my tricks first try. The skates feel super flexy. And this was Miami in February. I feel as though you will get a lot more flex as it starts getting warmer. It is still fairly cold out, but when it starts getting into the 80s and 90s, I think you're going to really enjoy the balance of the support and the flex. But they are going to be a stiffer skate. They're never going to be a super floppy skate. So more skating is going to loosen it up a little bit. You can also, try breaking it in a little bit in the oven. Instead of heat molding it, just heat it up a little bit. And then maybe put your foot in there, put your liner in, put your foot in there, and just balance top side and then go straight, balance top side and straight. Flex it around a little bit. The more that you flex it, the more that it's going to break in. They definitely do break in. They're not going to be as stiff as they are out of the box after skating them for a month or two. Aldelega, any updates on an ETA for that team edit? Yes. So we're just finishing up the editing. I think we've got all of the footage that we need. Don't know if we have this week or next week, but it should be this month. So that is all that I can say. It is coming soon, though. That's definitely sure. I think they're in the final edits, and I've seen a few of the edits, and it's really close. So I think they want to make sure that it comes out with a bang. And that's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of polish. So they've got it to that 95%, and now they're just putting that cherry on top. Soon. Carlos Diamante, I'm hearing only good things about the Comfort Liner. Unfortunately, I can use them because I downsized my Omnis. Yep. Do you have a plan to make a performance liner? Yeah, we would love to make a performance liner. I don't think that it will be an Intuition, but I'd love to make something that's a little bit thinner. Again, stay tuned. I can share that we haven't tested any performance liners yet, but it is in our plans to have a few different liner options. Probably won't be with V2. We've got, the fit issue is kind of our focus for V2. V3 maybe, which is probably going to be winter, end of 2024, maybe beginning of 25, depending on how quickly things sell through. That might be where we start seeing more liner options. But definitely it's in the works, and it's something that I would love to see because I love the Comfort Liner, but I always feel like there should be another variation available, especially for people who want to downsize. Darren, thanks so much. I will ride them with the stock liner. So excited. Yes, I think you'll be great with the stock liner. Please let me know though. And remember to heat mold them. Heat mold those liners before you put them in your feet and say, oh, they're too tight. Put the liners in the oven, heat mold them. They will loosen up. They will form fit to your foot. They're supposed to be tight. The nice thing is that when you heat mold them, they will get tight around your ankle instead of just tight in general. Clark Kirkman, where's that team launch edit? Time to crack that whip on the team. Soon. They're wrapping it up. It'll be very, very soon. Aldelega, please give an ETA for the planned senior liner. Heard it has a pressure switch in the base that senses when you stand up, starts broadcasting issues and or groans. That's not something that I'm working on, but I think there is a market for a more senior product line. we will need to talk. That's a good idea. Whoopee, will there be a version, maybe a pro version of the Omni that has a bit more forgiving flex? Does the cuff break in, or will it stay the same? Yes, mentioned this a little bit ago, but it will break in if you skate it more. It also is a little bit flexier when it is warmer out. We're looking at all different options. We will definitely have skates for different skating disciplines. Remember that this first Omni is designed for the way that I like to skate. And me personally was, my opinions were the ones that were used for that initial material decision. So I like to skate big wheels. I like to skate aggressive. I like support. You know, I come from a hockey background. So I want to make sure that the skate is solid, and when I stride, when I do my grinds, I feel comfortable, or I feel a lot of control in my skate. That is not a typical aggressive skate. That's also not a typical big wheel skate. That is something kind of in the middle. We will definitely be doing material changes in the future that are designed for different disciplines. And I'm really excited and looking forward to testing out those different materials and having different Omnis for different things that I want to skate. Just like a different shell for a different setup, I will have different wheel durometer for different situations that I'm going to be skating, and I'll have a shell for different situations. So looking forward to it. Nothing to announce yet, but we're definitely listening to people, and we know that it's something that people want. Oh, almost done. Eric Lopez, when will you be introducing pro models? Also a 50-50 question, any possibility of a gray prime frame wall and any other colors? Pro models, you know, we have an amazing team. We would love to do pro models for each of the skaters. Nothing to announce yet, but hopefully summer, maybe fall. Really just depends on how the launch goes, and how quickly we sell through and shops sell through skates. We want to make sure that we don't flood the shops with product. So it's important to us that the shops continue to sell through. That way they can sell through, and then we will have more product to send to them, and they won't have to discount things. 50-50 wise, we actually have a gray prime frame. It is the Chris Farmer frame. If you're interested in getting that gray prime frame, it is a charcoal gray without the logo. We do offer all of the 50-50 frames without logos now. We use a process with acetol and a few different sandpaper options to get the logo off if they are stubborn. We set those up with a black core from the Chad Tannehill frame, and it looks really great. I actually shipped out a few of those yesterday. It's a charcoal frame, black axles with a black core. It looks really nice. If you're looking for a lighter gray, like the Scott Crawford Balance 2 frame, nothing to announce yet, but never say never. I love that color, especially on a black skate. I think that the light gray looks really good. All right. Oh, a couple more questions. Stealth X29. How would you compare the large Omni to medium 909? Bigger or smaller? I'm a 10.5 to 11 in shoes, and the 909 media is just a few millimeters too small. I would say it is almost exactly the same length as the medium 909. I am 28.5 centimeters. I am a 10.5 in shoes, and I skate the medium 909 with a RL1 liner, and it fits me perfectly. But that is a very tight fit. The Omni, same deal. I fit the comfort liner with the Omni, and it is a tight fit. I mean, I don't have any wiggle inside the shell. If you were to ride an Intuition, you might be able to get a few millimeters out of it. I think that the medium 909 is probably the exact same length, if not the exact same, very similar length. So if you're tight in the 909 medium, you might be tight in the large Omni, but it's a very comparable shell. The Real Slim Skatey, okay. You mentioned bringing out a smaller size in the short term. Any time horizon for a larger size for 305 Mondo? Great job, by the way, massive achievement. Thank you for the kudos. Yes, so we want to come out with a size so that everybody can skate the Omni. And I know that there are people out there with bigger feet than 300 millimeters. The question is, how many people out there are there? And we want to address that, but it's going to take some time. There are more people with smaller feet than there are with bigger feet, so it made sense for us financially to do an extra small before we did a double XL shell. It is on our roadmap though. So as we can afford it, it probably won't be something that we do with every release, but we want to have a double XL for people with a size 13, size 14 skate. Because I know that there are people out there and they don't have a lot of options. It's important to me that we have that, that as an option. But shells are expensive. You know, these molds are very expensive. I don't know that we'll ever make the money back by selling skates in that size. It's the right thing to do. It's great to have. And I feel like we could kind of corner the market if we went for that big size. But how big is the market? I don't know. I mean, I know one guy, it's you. And I'm sure there's other people out there who would skate them. But I think our XL is pretty good. If you haven't tried it, you might want to try the XL with a thin intuition liner like a V2 or Premium, and maybe a double shock with a bit of a an insole underneath your liner. You might be able to fit, especially if you're 305. I mean, that's only 5 millimeters that you're going to need to make, and I bet you could do that with a thinner liner and a couple of shock absorbers. Worth a try. If you can't fit them, I mean, especially if you buy from us, if you can't fit them, you know, you can return them, no problem, and we'll take care of it. So it's worth a try. Shell only. See if you can make it work. Was that it? Oh, where is it? There's more. YouTube is jumping around. I'm sorry. Joseph Lux. Hey, Joseph. If somebody wanted to drill out the cuff bolts, how would they go about doing that? So we've actually tested replaceable cuffs when we were trying to figure out the ankle issue. Best way to get rid of the cuffs, and I don't recommend that you do this, but best way to get rid of the cuffs, you could drill on the inside, but what I did is I took the, I have little cutter tools like wire cutters. There's a little washer on the inside. I don't have my my exploded rivet over here, but a little washer on the inside. What you want to do is you want to shove something underneath this washer, cut that washer out. It's not super thick. It's maybe like a millimeter thick. Cut that washer out, and if you can get the washer out, you get a little bit of room inside there. Then all you need to do is use the cutters, and you cut around the riveted area where it's folded around. Cut around that area, and then the rivet will come right out. It takes some time and patience, but that to me is the safest way to do it. You could drill it out by drilling out this way. These rivets are very thick and very beefy. The weak spot of the rivet is on the inside as soon as you get rid of the washer. The washer protects everything, but if you can get rid of the washer, these rivets on the inside are very weak. You should be able to make it work. In saying that, don't put any crazy cuffs on there. I don't want to see any purple cuffs on my Omnis. Don't do me dirty. Aldalega, will the Bossman have any clips in the team edit? I will not have any clips in the team edit. I am not on the team, and I'm very proud to be the owner. I know my role, and the team is amazing, and they know their role. You know, we have a really good relationship, and they are who you want to see. You can see me on the Back to Blading YouTube channel. Eddie Cohen, what's the new Fitty Fitty products coming? We have a few new products coming soon, a couple of months. They're not in production yet. We're probably, to be honest, I've been so busy with Standard, I haven't had a opportunity to work much on Fitty Fitty. We do have some new stuff from Compass and from Chroma, and I've got some stuff on the pipeline for 50/50, but we had to bump it just because there wasn't a lot of money to invest in it right now, but I hope to have some for summer. Clark Kirkman, the New Era tour. Yes, that would be amazing. We need to talk. That would be a really fun way to get out to the community and do something right for a change. Get a video going. Wish somebody had a big van. That would be great. True Skeet. Any gold skates in the work? Casting for a friend. I wish. Maybe next time we go to the compound, we'll get some gold skates for our friend. Yandril Silvario. The easiest way is using a step drill for metal. Okay, I've never tried using that drill. I don't know if that was real or not, but I am not a guy that drills out cuff bowls, so I don't recommend anybody does it. Maybe just don't do it. Real Skate, thanks for the update and taking the time to answer the question. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. All of our super chats go to the Helmet Initiative, so that is how we are able to help get helmets on people's heads. Appreciate all the super chats. Not encouraging people to super chat, but if you do, and if you're so inclined, that's where the money goes. So thank you so much. My throat is starting to hurt, so I'm starting to wrap up. Last question. So you're saying you can blame my bad skating on Chicago winters. I haven't seen any bad skating from you, Jeff, so I don't know what I could blame. If anything, your Omnis are giving you more confidence, and I love to see it. Yes, tired, throat hurts. It is day 10 of me having COVID. I didn't mention that during the show, but I mentioned it in the pre-show. So I am going to log off and get home and get some rest. But I do appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. It was a very busy month. I can finally relax a little bit. The orders keep coming in. Thank you for the support. Thank you for sharing on social media. Even the bad stuff. Let people know that you've got the Omni and let them make their decisions. I appreciate all the feedback and the community helping people figure out how to get the Omnis to work for them. The goal of this episode was to give you a lot of fuel so that you can go out there and help others or help yourself if you're having pressure points or if you're having weird issues with your skates. Rewatch this video whenever you need to. I went through a bunch of tips and tricks. Standardskate.co/support is where we're going to be putting more information so that you can reference that if you're having any questions about setting up your Omni or if you want to dial them in. And make them a little bit better for you. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I hope to do more gear talks in the future. It will probably be more variety of topics. It's been very standard heavy the last few episodes, but that is the most important thing happening in my world right now, so I have to address it. But I hope to get out there and start skating again, start skating big wheels again, maybe test different frames. Probably won't be testing any other skates, but I do want to continue investing in the industry and seeing what's out there, because there's some amazing people doing amazing work for this thing that we love. That is a very quirky little hobby, but people love it, and I'm one of them. Anyway, thank you again so much for tuning in. Appreciate all of the support, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks.